ZamaLwandle logistics.
Transport logistics.
Transport
Logistics.
logistics. You know, normally when you speak to like CEOs of companies, you expect them to know the company history and who founded the what. So I'm going to put you on the spot. I apologize. You're the general manager now. Do you know how old the business is, when it was founded, who founded it, and how you got into the business?
I do. So the business was founded in 2000. The business was another business before it was this business.
Okay.
So in 2001, some Afrikaners had a transport business out in the Val, in Randval.
Okay.
They had about 4 or 5 trucks operating.
Those big 30-something ton.
34 ton.
34 ton,
site
okay.
tippers, yes. They were. You call them subsistence farmers and farmers, people who live
Off the land.
Yeah, they farm just to feed themselves.
Yeah.
So I think there were business people like that. Nice plot, nice big land, and all of those things. And my father approached them, I think it was in possibly somewhere between 2008 or below, to say, look, I've got transport opportunities and I'd like to buy your business.
Yeah.
In fact, he was introduced by a friend of his, which is an important point, because, as I said, everybody helps you along the way.
Relationships are key.
Relationships are key.
Yeah.
People carry you. So he then was introduced to them and he bought the business over, becoming majority shareholder, expansive majority. So in the regions of 70%.
What were the trucks doing at the time?
They were running for local mines.
Okay.
There's a stone mine in Daleside, which is in the Mayerton region.
Okay.
They were running for there. And he had bigger ambitions. So he took the business from 4 trucks to 150 trucks.
Crazy. Sorry, those trucks are really expensive. Just an average.
Well, really expensive is relative.
Sure.
But it depends on what. So the industry has got different disciplines.
Yeah.
So a horse itself, you can get, a horse is the head.
Okay.
You can get for $1 million to $2 million, depending on the make that you're looking for. Not really cheese.
No, it's cheese for those of us who can $1 million times 150, 2 million.
No,
it's crazy amounts for some of us.
As I said, I understand it's relative though, but yeah. So we are multidisciplinary. Oh, let me go back, to the history.
Besides the history, the horse would be anything from 1 to 2. And
and then the trailer, it depends on the discipline. So you've got a side tipper, which is the one, people send you LOIs on WhatsApp.
A letter of intent.
Yeah, saying I've got a mine that wants to do this, that wants to do this.
So it's for mining?
Yeah.
Okay.
So you carry commodities.
Okay.
Whether it's chrome, depending on the commodity, the dip and the volume of the trailer will vary.
Okay.
So you've got the side tippers, you've got the tankers. Now tankers, there's different types of tankers. We've got HFO tankers, which are huge steel tankers, very, very thick, because HFO is what you call heavy fuel oil. It's a component that makes diesel, which is very corrosive.
Okay.
So they are stainless steel. It depends on the material.
Sure.
We've got oil tankers as well, which are much thinner, because those are for lubricants, the stuff that you put in your car. Yeah. It's not really corrosive. You've got tankers for, what do you call this? For paraffin, for, flammables. Yeah. You've got tankers for dry bulk. So your sand, your cement, which are extremely, extremely specialized, because which is why I say it just depends.
Okay.
So your dry bulk tanker will be 2.5 million because of how specialized that industry is. Not many people are transporting cement, and I'm not talking ready mix cement. I'm talking the sand, You know, that's a different you've got different disciplines. So the price factors are different depending on the scarcity.
Yeah. Connie flatbed. I know flatbed.
There's a flatbed. Also,
at least I know something.
If you get into trucking and you don't know what to do, you have no client, get yourself a flatbed. You get a horse and you get yourself a flatbed. The reason why is because it's versatile.
Yeah.
You can carry steel coils, steel rods. You can carry containers, and in the containers you can put things in. So you're probably fine with a flatbed. You get yourself a triaxle or a superlink. Triaxle is one trailer. It's got 3 axles, 1, 2, 3. That's why it's called a triaxle. Or a superlink. It's got the baby and then the big.
Jeez, thank you for the education. Sorry, I got you to deviate. Your father went from 4 trucks. And then you grew the business to 150.
So over time, we got to a place of 150 with an expansive client book. He was the MD of the business. Still is, from a title point of view. Yeah. It goes with his initials, which is why I am technically the MD and CEO of the business.
Okay.
But that title has been almost ceremoniously reserved for him.
Yeah.
So on paper, I'm the GM.
Okay.
Anyway, so he's built that over time with an expansive clientele. He doesn't do tenders, but I mean, we work with blue chip businesses and state-owned entities, which in itself is sort of a tender space, because at that level of operation, with that level of revenue, a simple phone call is not enough. You must show capacity, you must show expertise, you must show the necessary requirements.
Yeah.
Especially in the trucking space. You see, the trucking space is an extremely technical space, depending, of course, at what level that you want to play at. So if you're on a truck and you're on a flatbed and you want to move containers up and down, that's fine. But the minute you get into something like HFO, to take from Netref to Kusile Power Station, for example, that's a whole different ballgame. There's a lot of auditing that goes there. There's a lot of licenses that you need to have. There's a lot of permits that you need to have. Your drivers need to be trained a specific way. Your staff complement needs to have specific set of people. Your truck yard needs to have specific set of things, because at any time they could do a spot audit at my offices. They want to see the fire extinguishers. They want to see the firefighter trained on site. They want to see the first aiders who are trained on site, all of those things.
Do you have a life? You're 29 and you already have so much technical knowledge in just one industry that you're involved in. Where does that come from? Because you studied law, but you seem to already know technical skills just on this space. Do you have a life? Do you party? Do you laugh?
Of course I have a life. I love my life. I think I live a beautiful life. I've been blessed quite amazingly. I love my life.
So it wasn't an official question. I was just, I actually think I was just trying to figure out how you get it right to have so much knowledge on the various industries that you work in.
Do you
do short courses maybe, or?
No, I grew up in this space.
Okay.
I breathe this space. I don't get it right always. I probably get it more wrong than I do get it right. But I know because I'm in it.
Yeah.
I know because I'm dealing with it on a daily basis. The needs come on a daily basis, including the weekend.
So from your dad growing this business to what it became, number one, are the initial people that he bought the business from still involved in the business? At which point do you then come in, and does your dad still work in the company?
Yeah. So no, the initial people that he bought the business from are no longer in the business. They haven't been in the business probably since 2015 or 14.
Okay.
If I remember correctly. I've always been involved at one level or another in my father's businesses since I was a child. My father used to be a taxi owner. They used to come to the house and I would cash up the vehicles. This was while I was still 8, 9, 10.
That's nice. Do you have siblings?
I do.
Have they been involved in what your family has been doing at the same level as you?
Perhaps we've all been involved, but there's at different degrees.
Okay.
So my siblings also work in the business, but at different levels.
Okay. That's beautiful.
Yeah, at different levels. Some work as a service provider to the business. Some work in the business, like myself. I've never been a service provider to the family businesses. That's why I've always kept my own interests outside as well. But I've never mixed the two.
Why?
Just maybe an issue of hyper-independence, a complex, I don't know.
Did you feel a need to become your own man?
I did. I absolutely did. I lived in the shadow of my father for a long time, and I needed to have something tangible that belonged to me. Not because I needed his acceptance or anything, but I think that is what I thought would be my level of fulfillment. So by the time I came back into the business, at the level I came back in a way that was fulfilling to me.
Yeah.
Because it became a conversation. That, listen, this is where we are. These are the challenges that we are facing. And I've seen what you've been able to do on your own. And I'd like you to come in and assist me in that regard. Because that allows then my father and I to have mutual respect for each other, business person to business person conversations, as opposed to, because I always knew or always had an idea that I'd probably go back into the family businesses on a more full-time basis, but I never wanted to be as a favor or as a handout. I'm quite a huge fan of Lakshmi Mittal, who owns ArcelorMittal, and his relationship with his son, because his son became the CEO of ArcelorMittal. But again, also it was a conversation. He took his own path, and it was a negotiation between the two to say that this is what I need, and this is what I am, and this is who I am, and how do we meet each other halfway?
Top of mind, I'm thinking of Johan Rupert, who dropped out in second year at Stellenbosch. His father got him to go and work in banking in the United States, and then brought him back to join the family business, which was Rembrandt at the time. It's Remgrow today. I always try to figure out what's best. If you spoke about the difficulty in one of our conversations of being the first generation and the mistakes on both sides that first generation fathers, mothers make in getting their kids into the business, and that the kids themselves make. And I'm just worried, even listening to you now, this thing of wanting to be your own man when there's already a family business. In retrospect, do you think it was a good idea for you to want to build things on your own? Do you think, as average advice, not just for you specifically, general advice, do you think kids who have a parent who's got whatever business, could be a small supermarket? You said your father was in the taxi industry. So do you think the kids should just join their parents and then maybe do their own thing as a side hustle rather, instead of being like, no, if my mom could build this thing on their own, I also want to prove that I can do it on my own?
Yes and no. Yes, because I've seen it work for Muslim communities, right? But no, because the business itself brings in sets of challenges that are easier to fix if you've dealt with them on your own, in your own personal capacity. So I know how to read financials. I know how to identify cash flow problems, not because my dad has said, now this is a cash flow problem, but because I've had to deal with cash flow problems in my own business. You understand what I'm saying? And it almost becomes a second chance when you step into the business, right? So you've got the man who has taken the business from nothing to something, right?
Yeah.
And that person then needs to figure out how to replicate himself into his child.
Yeah.
But you can't replicate struggle.
You can't replicate struggle.
You can't replicate struggle. You can't replicate the lessons that come from struggle. And so that's why then I think, and I'm not saying that I struggled in any deep or meaningful way, but the challenges that I've faced allow me to be able to say, I think we should do this because this is what I did when I was faced with this. Because then the danger is that my father would then always have to linger as a helping hand when we are dealing with challenges. Yes, of course, the challenges that he deals with are astronomical in comparison with the challenges that I've had to deal with because our revenue lines are not the same.
Yeah.
In no way. But I know what it takes to take something from nothing to something.
And also how it feels like to risk your own money.
And
even
how
if it's a little bit of money.
Correct. And how it feels. So you've got skin in the game.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? Which also is quite an important, again, it goes back to this whole concept of you can't be one man and serve two masters. In order for me to try and make the businesses as a Sekaya succeed, I have to have skin in the game.
Yeah.
So there are things that I have to make trade-offs because yes, I do have my other businesses on the side, but if those businesses are as good as this one, then I'm not really invested.
Yeah.
You understand?
Yeah.
And so those things are important.
Does your dad still work in the business?
My dad spends a lot of time on the road. We're on camera, so I don't want to say he does. But he hardly comes to the office.
You've fully owned and accepted the responsibility and you feel you're ready?
Yeah, well, I suppose it's too late to ask the question of ready because I'm already in it.
Yeah.
But I have fully owned and accepted the responsibility.
How do you feel your father, what do you think it took for your father to realize that he's ready to hand over to you?
I don't know. I have my thoughts. Must be a combination of things, but I'm not a mind reader, so I will give him that opportunity one day when we talk.
Are you nervous?
No, not at all.
About the responsibility?
Oh, about the responsibility, of course. I'm nervous every day. It's a big responsibility.
Yeah.
I've got a lot of people to take care of. But besides that, I've got the legacy to take care of.
ZamaLwandle is not listed. I'm not sure if you're at liberty to discuss your revenue. If not, that's fine. But maybe along with that, or if not that, if you can speak about your staff complement and the scale when we speak about responsibility.
Okay. Look, as far as revenue is concerned, I don't want to disclose numbers, but I can tell you we are a generic organization in terms of our scorecards.
I don't know what that means.
So generic means you are treated, so after your revenue line reaches a certain point, even if you're 100% black owned, you don't automatically get a level 1B certificate.
Okay.
So we are treated like your Imperials.
Okay. You're a big business.
We are a big business. We are considered, we are considered a big business.
Okay.
Yeah.
In terms of staff and the number of people that are supported by the company?
We've come down significantly post-COVID.
Okay.
We had a staff complement of 300.
Sure.
We've probably come down to, I'm running about 40 vehicles now out of 76 because we also defleeted.
Okay.
So it's about 76 vehicles that we have in total. I'm running 40 of them at the moment with 2 drivers each. So that's about 80. And then I've got office staff about 25. And then in Secunda, I've got another few. So Oh, just below 100.
It's a lot of people still. And these people obviously support families and other people. And I know you and I have had a conversation around your responsibilities, not just to your staff, but to the family as a whole, especially when you speak about legacy, that I'm not just running a business with employees, but there's a family to think about that is supported.
There is. I think that's also where, in fact, that's majority of where the nerves come.
Yeah.
Is because I'm being passed something that belonged to something that was built by someone else for the benefit of a lot of people. And so it's for me to break.
Yeah.
Now that's both a good and a bad thing. It's a wonderful privilege, but it also exposes the both strengths and the weaknesses in my character.
Do you, besides your father, do you have any other mentors in the industry? Do you have people that advise you? Especially when I think second generation Black African business, looking to the Ruperts, the Oppenheimers, and like you mentioned, Muslim families who can tell you, we've run businesses for 4 or 5 generations, so maybe we can teach you some stuff. Do you have such people?
I do. Excuse me. I do. Perhaps not in the same industry. I mean, I have friends who are running businesses themselves, who they've also taken over from their parents' big businesses. Unfortunately, they're white. Fortunately or unfortunately, those friends of mine are white. I consider them mentors, even though they're my age.
I like that.
I consider them mentors because they are more comfortable with the position in which they are standing, more than I am. Obviously, for obvious reasons. You know, for me, this is a first time thing. For them, this has been happening. You know, their parents have built businesses that were started in 1973 by their grandpa. You know, so they assist me in how to deal with the challenges that come. I mean, not obviously specific, but the issues that beset us. I have mentors who themselves have built businesses, but they are first generation. And I think for me, I benefit only from just understanding how they did what they did, and not the secondary part of how to pass on and how to deal with something that has been built by someone else. Because it's also not easy to, I mean, as I said, it's a nice privilege, but it's not very simple taking something that has been built by someone else. Because that thing has been built with a combination of grit, passion, and understanding. And so you have to take this and you have to learn the inside out of it. And then you have to, perhaps you don't have a passion for the discipline itself, but maybe you've got a passion for problem solving. Maybe you've got a passion for leading people, you know? But still that combination is a little bit tricky to just sprout out of yourself, you know?
I think in closing, your vision for the business, when you speak about the imperials of this world, would you like to scale? How big would you like to go? Do you even want to grow? Because some people might be like, we're actually trying to scale down. That's where we'll make more money. What is your vision for the business?
The vision for the business is in line with the business that I have, the vision that I have for my own life. I want so it's an entrepreneur's business, right? And entrepreneur businesses are notoriously inefficient. I'd like it to be corporatized. That's what I'm working on now.
Why are entrepreneurs' businesses inefficient?
Because the skill set required to be an entrepreneur and the skill set required to be a CEO are two different sets of skills.
Okay.
It's not always that the one has the other. So a classic example is that you have a vision to get to 10 taxis, you know, and you are just knocking down doors trying to get there.
Yeah.
And your accountant that you've hired tells you that your growth is you're growing too fast. You need to scale down. We need to take 4, and then we need to finish those 4 so that we can buy another 2 and another whatever. You understand? Entrepreneurs often ignore that advice. And so what happens is that their growth is exponential in too short of a period.
Yeah.
And so what you have is that you've got a bloated asset book, but then you've got an even bigger debt book, right?
Yeah.
Simply because you've been driven by your ambitions, but you have not been curtailed by the necessary stoppages that you have to make, so to speak. So you are an entrepreneur, you've got your 10 taxis, and now you've got your siblings and you've got all these people, and again. So you go and fetch all these people with no qualifications and no experience, and you plug them into your business with the hopes that they will learn into very noble, but inefficient.
Okay.
So what then happens is that your business gets to 100 taxis, but you got 100 taxis being looked after by people who do not have the technical expertise.
Yeah.
Nor do you, because you're an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
So you don't have to go to school to start a trucking business.
Yeah.
You just have to have an idea.
Yeah.
So those are the dangers. Unlike a corporate business like an MTN or a Vodacom, its ambition is curtailed by technical requirements or, you know, the necessary stoppages that one has to look at. So I am a product of a family business, but I'm not big on the idea of family businesses personally. I'd like to grow my business into a corporate business. Of course, I'd like my family to benefit from it for as long as I live. But I'd also like them to benefit the way your heiresses, your heirs and heiresses of your JP Morgans, your BMWs and Porsche and Ferrari, that yes, there will be one who is still the CEO or whatever, but the rest run their own lives, but they still benefit from the business. The business still looks after their lives, and they still open doors in whatever space that they are operating in.
Yeah.
I'd like to see that happen.
Okay.
I wouldn't want my son to become a trucker because I am a trucker. I'd like my trucking to open doors for him, but I'd like him to go and do that which he wants to do.
Sure.
And if he comes back and is technically qualified to do what it is that we do, to add value, then that's okay.
Phesheya, thank you so much for joining us. And I'm hoping you'll come back so we can unpack some of your other businesses as well. We've learned a lot, and we're wishing you and the timer and the family nothing but the greatest of success.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.